Well, you know that music, and I have two lovely guests with me today from the Mercantile Library on the campus of University of Missouri St. Louis. I have Julie Dunn-Morton, curator of the Fine Arts Collections. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, Julie?
Very well, thanks. And you?
Excellent. Doing very well, thank you. Even better now that you're here in the studio and all relaxed and ready to tell us about something exciting coming up. And then I also have Nick Fry with me here. And Nick is the curator of the Barriger Railroad Library at the Mercantile Library, yes?
Yes, indeed. Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you. Welcome. This is so much fun. You've got something very exciting that's going to be happening, sort of, pardon the pun, collectively, with the Mercantile Library. And it's going to be next weekend, and it's going to be at the JCPenney building.
Correct.
Yes. Tell us about this.
This is our annual signature event. It's the St. Louis Fine Print, Rare Book, and Paper Arts Fair, always held the first weekend in May. So we're very excited to invite St. Louisans to be here with us. We have this year almost 30 dealers who are bringing, both local and national, who are bringing a wide variety of rare books, first editions, wonderfully illustrated books. We have one specialty dealer who brings English books, especially arts and crafts. So any of you interested in that should definitely come by, as well as the dealers who bring prints from virtually every era. A lot of WPA era prints, which are always exciting. We have several new map dealers this year, so really it was something for everyone.
Oh, this just sounds wonderful.
Thanks.
Now, this is going to be going on all three of these days, and there's a special sort of first peek idea on Friday. Am I correct?
That's correct. Friday night, May 2nd, from 6 to 9, we have our preview party. It's a lot of fun, past hors d'oeuvres, refreshments. One of the highlights that evening is a silent auction. We have about 70 lots set up at this time of just some fantastic services and interesting items. It's always a lot of fun. And as you said, a first peek at all the wonderful things the dealers have brought.
Now, when you do these things, I'm sure people have the opportunity to mill around and such. Now, is the silent auction for some of these rare prints and things?
Some of our dealers do donate items for the silent auction, so you'll have an interesting opportunity there. So we have a mixture of artwork and, as I said, some very interesting services you could bid on. An art appraisal from one of our local appraisers. You could bid on a carpet cleaning. I think we have one of those services again. A nice pet basket. So such a terrific variety of things.
Good. It's good to know because, there may be somebody out there who wants a pet basket.
Absolutely. It's always a hot item.
Well, I think a lot of people just love their critters as much as they love their art.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And of course, since we're the voice for all the arts, we want to include all of this.
We are inclusive.
Absolutely. Yes. Now, Nick, how does the Barriger Gallery come into this?
Well, in addition to our own book holdings, we have a significant art collection that we've amassed over the years. Some of it was from Mr. Barriger himself.
Oh, I'm mispronouncing it. Pardon me.
That's
Barriger.
Okay. He actually commissioned artists while he was running various railroads. One of them was a gentleman named Howard Fogg, and his prints were used as basically thank you gifts and marketing for the railroad that he was operating out in Pittsburgh. And he would paint images of his customers' properties. So it's very modern, it's very industrial, but they were great, for lack of a better term, gimmicks to drum up business for the Pittsburgh and Lake Erie. And that theme continued throughout Barriger's personal collection. He would receive art from other companies. Some of that's actually on display in the library right now, and other pieces of art that were done purely for the cultural sake of creating images of railroading. Those images are on display. And since we received the collection here at the library in 1984, we've added and expanded over time. And usually I'm looking around for at least one new piece every print fair to add to the collection. So sometime during Saturday or Sunday, if you're there and you see the railroad guy run up to the art curator and say, "Julie, look at this, look at this." It means we found something.
You found a new one.
Yes.
This is when the fun starts.
Yes. That's when the fun really kicks in. And I imagine, now, do you add to your collections through this yourselves? I mean, for the library?
We do. The library certainly looks at that opportunity. And I think what Nick has brought up really points out something that's existed in the library since our founding in 1846, is that all of our collections are so interrelated. the artwork is not such a discrete unit. It reflects the contents of the rare book collection. And the map collection reflects, westward expansion, which is also reflected in the travel narratives and the captivity narratives that we have. And, the Railroad and the Waterways libraries both have wonderful art and artifact collections as well as business records. So it's just a very complex web, and it creates a wonderful, very comprehensive collection.
I would say one of the biggest challenges is having enough wall space to put up everything that we want to show off.
Right, like everyone.
I
There's
can
always
imagine.
those choices about what you have to have in storage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how often do you, if you will, turn the entire exhibit, or you just do it sort of piece at a time, or how do you do that?
We have some dedicated sort of permanent collection space, and then we have special exhibition space like most institutions. And so, especially with the STL 250 celebration, we're happy
isn't
to
that
be
gonna be
part of
fun?
that. We've been having a lot of fun with that already with our current exhibit From Chateau to Scharf, which has the handwritten document by Auguste Chateau of the founding of St. Louis, and then it kind of relates that document to how later published histories all sort of relied on that as a foundation document. And then in the fall, in October, we'll open our other STL 250 exhibit, which is Mapping St. Louis History. And it compares maps of St. Louis over time. So it's going to be a really big and exciting show.
And it's going to be a nice chance for a lot of folks to see things that normally are kept in the closed stacks, particularly on the railroad side.
Good point.
The maps are, in some cases, so old and so fragile because our collection goes back to the 1820s that some of the things we're going to be exhibiting have not been on display ever in some cases.
Really?
Yeah, it's a remarkable opportunity. So, and it's one of those exhibits that draws from River and Rail and our regular
Now,
collections.
when is this exhibit going to be?
It opens October 19th.
Wow. When you think about where we live, I mean, just physically within the country, of course, being that crossroads of
Exactly.
the river traffic and the rail traffic and all, we are in such a mecca for this sort of thing.
Very much so. Sean and I like to have a little good-natured rivalry about our collections and the river versus the rail. And it's Sean Visitainer. He's our waterways curator. He
R
sits next door
versus
to
R.
me.
I love it. I love it. So railroad versus river. I love it.
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, that's great. Now, how long have you been interested in railroads?
Oh, geez, since I was 6. And I will say this: the field tends to get men in its area of interest, the population, and generally it all starts around the same age. It's whenever they got their first train set.
In your first choo-choo, huh?
And that was age 6. So, and it grew since then. I had a foray into the Civil War when Ken Burns' series came out. I actually grew up in Maryland, so
Did you?
with a crossroads of railroads and rivers here, I had a crossroads of Civil War history where I was growing up.
Yes, indeed.
And I didn't go into railroads again professionally until after graduate school and college. And I started volunteering to be an archivist at a historical society outside of Baltimore.
So you were degreed in archival things, and so as a result, you are able to do what you love with your degree. What a concept.
Yeah, I left a job at NASA to work in railroads, and it was 2 really neat jobs that I've had one after another. So
Wow, so you were with NASA before
it
that.
was with a contractor doing library services there. Yeah,
Oh, that had to be fascinating, too.
it was pretty neat. Yeah, I got to see stuff I never thought I'd see.
Wow, lucky guy. And
Yeah.
now, of course, you're doing what you just love, best of all worlds.
Yep, and occasionally I get paid to ride on trains, so it's fringe benefits.
It's all good.
And do they give you a lollipop, too? Don't need one with it.
Not with that, no.
And how about you, Julie? I'm sorry, I just went blank on your name for a second. When did you first get interested in archiving and fine arts?
Well, I guess that's what's
curating?
interesting. I'm the one non-library person at the library because my degree is in art history. So I guess I sort of fell in love with art about the same age that Nick was falling in love with trains. As a child, I was always very fascinated by it and came to that sort of career point as an adult and said, which way are you going to go? And just went with art history and have never regretted it.
And how lovely there again to be just surrounded by what you love.
Exactly. you know, you can't have a bad day when you can walk out into the gallery and just see some of the wonderful paintings and sculpture that we have. So it's, what's that saying? If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Absolutely. And that, you know, for our listeners who are just tuning in, I'm speaking with Julie Dunn-Morton, who's the curator of the Fine Art Collections, and Nick Fry, curator of the Barriger Railroad Library at Mercantile Library at UMSL. And if you have never been to that particular facility, you really need to go. As a matter of fact, I haven't been there in about 7 years, and I have got to get over there. I was just across the street last night, though, doing something else. But truly, it is a marvelous, marvelous collection that you have. It really gives us such a sense of what happened here locally, too. There are a lot of things about the rivers, about the railroads, and the fine arts that were fostered and nurtured here in St. Louis. And it is certainly worth people's time. Now, I'm going to bring up a little question. When people come to visit the Mercantile Library, where do they park? Because that can sometimes be an issue. Where do they park?
Parking is always a good question on a college campus. We are immediately adjacent to the West Drive garage. We do have some spots designated there. For anyone who's thinking about visiting, we certainly encourage you to do that. And I would give you the tip that Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays are your best bet. There are no classes on Friday, so there's more parking available, and it's just much easier to find a spot. And also put in a little plug for our Saturday and Sunday free public tours, Saturdays at 11, Sundays at 2. Just show up, the docents are waiting, and they'd be delighted to show you around.
That is great tip. And by the way, too, if you want more information about Mercantile Library, you can go to the site, this is the print fair, but you can just go to umsl.edu/mercantile.
Correct.
And that'll take you right to their great website. I love the way your website navigates. It's very intuitive. It's just right there. It's intuitive. It's user-friendly. You don't have to be a genius to try and find what you're after. It comes to you.
Thanks. We'll be sure Sean hears that. He's been supervising a lot of the web work.
He's been really, really making sure that it works well for our users. So
it is very friendly. So again, that address is umsl.edu/mercantile.
Correct.
And now let's talk just a little bit more about this print fair. You have almost 40 dealers, right? They're local and national?
Yes.
And all sorts of goodies.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. We have, like I said, maps are kind of new for us this year, which is very exciting. We've had
great angle.
Rare book dealers. We have some ephemera dealers, which I don't think we mentioned. Sometimes people think, fine print, rare book, I'm just a casual collector. There's probably not something for me. But really, everything from, wouldn't you say, Civil War postcards, even though I sort of informally collect postcards, and you can find some really fascinating local and national postcards, historical photographs, contemporary photography, which is oftentimes much more affordable than you might think, and prints really from, I would say, in a very broad price range, maybe $20 on up. So students, everybody could find something.
Sure, absolutely.
With such a wide range of style, you can pretty much start your collection any way you want by visiting the fair. It's really just an easy way to see what's out there, see what you're interested in, what strikes your fancy, and if nothing else, if there's nothing there that you really want to take home that day, you can still network with a dealer and get a relationship started to maybe help you find what you're looking for.
That's a great point.
That is a very good point, because we've actively cultivated some of the dealers who are specifically just very helpful, very knowledgeable. Some of our dealers have been on the roadshow.
Really?
Yeah, so that's kind of it lets people know that these are reputable and well-respected dealers, and they're very interested in just helping you identify, what's the best collecting thing for you. Or, some of our regular patrons at the fair now contact our dealers ahead of time and say, hey, I've been looking for this particular item. Any chance you could bring one? I could look at it. So it's mutually beneficial.
Does it ever happen that somebody has something that they're not really sure about its worth or what it is as far as its intrinsic value. Do they bring that there to that show to have any of the dealers look at it? Does that ever happen?
We're not really set up to have our dealers provide appraisals, although some of our dealers do have local customers, and they'll just make independent appointments with them, either for before or after print fair hours.
Very interesting. What's the biggest wowee that you ever had at your print fair?
Ooh, good question.
You've done more of these than I have, so you've got
He's
a
going to
catalog
defer.
to work
He's
with.
going to throw it to you, Julie.
Well, we're in our 8th year, so we've had some really wonderful items. I think we frequently have Audubon Birds of America prints, which are always very exciting.
Gorgeous.
We have a dealer who specializes in works by Thomas Hart Benton, so we've had, I've seen a painting that he brought that was the source for a very rare Benton print, and so just seeing that painting was quite exciting. I think that's what makes the fair such a treat, is just every booth has something fantastic that you just, you look at it and you go, here, it's right here for me to see.
Here it is, in the flesh,
Exactly.
live. Mm-hmm. What a fun thing. Well, this whole thing is going to be May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Friday, May 2nd is the first peak, shall we
Correct.
say, and those are special tickets, which
Yes.
include the silent auction
Yes.
and refreshments.
Yes.
And that ought to be lovely.
It's a lot of fun.
That ought to be lovely. And then also on the 3rd and the 4th, which is Saturday and Sunday, you're also going to have artist demonstrations, I understand?
That's correct. On Sunday, usually at 1, 2, and 3, we have a couple of our dealers who are practicing artists. We have David Anderson, who does a watercolor demonstration. Joanne Kluba with Paperbird Studio does a bookbinding demonstration, which is
Ooh.
always fascinating. And then Firecracker Press brings one of their small hand press. I don't know if you know them, they use historic printing equipment, and they bring a hand press and actually do a printing demonstration, which is...
Oh, what fun.
It's
See how it was
terrific.
done in the olden days.
Exactly.
How exciting. And now the cost for a ticket for the day on either Saturday or Sunday is $7. I know I've gotten
Yes.
that information off the line.
And we do have discounts for Mercantile members or UMSL alum.
There
So
we go. And I should also mention that the Friday tickets are $50 a person or $90 for two. And there again, there are Mercantile member and alum prices, which are $40 and $70 respectively.
Right.
For one or two people. And the fair hours on Friday, it's from 6 to 9 p.m. On Saturday, May 3rd, from 10 to 6. And on Sunday, May 4th, from 11 to 4. And by the way, $2 a day for the students and UMSL alumni.
Right.
Yes, okay. And more information and more ticket information is available for you at umsl.edu/mercantile. And if by chance you are not so much into the computer scene, and there are a lot of people who aren't, you can also call for information at 314-516-6740. Again, 516-6740. Anything else that you all would like to add? Nick, anything?
Well, we really just hope folks will come out and visit us. And if you happen to have a few extra minutes and you want to stop by, the library is going to be open both days of print fair. So feel free to stop by and come in and see the collection.
Good point.
Come see our cake for the Cakeway to St. Louis.
Yes.
We have one of the cakes in our lobby area.
The Cakeway to St. Louis.
And-
Now, is this one that people are going to be munching on?
No, no.
They won't be seeing the crumbs.
No. And it's literally next to our Chouteau exhibit, so you can see the founders of St. Louis personal recollections of founding the city, and right next to it'll be our birthday cake. So
And I love the way you said Chouteau,
yes,
à la française.
Oh, we
it's unusual because normally
for native St. Louisans, that's Shoto.
Right, exactly. Everybody keeps correcting my pronunciation.
And I'm sorry I interrupted you. You said
that's-
normally.
Yeah, that's what normally I get corrected all the time about I'm from out of town, folks. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You're from Maryland. You're going to pronounce it the French way.
Right.
And then anything that you wanted to add to this, Julie?
Well, we appreciate this opportunity to let people know about the fair, and we certainly hope you'll come out and join us. It's just a lot of fun.
Well, it sounds like an absolute ball. It really does. And for those of us who love things old and wonderful and enjoy prowling through great prints and things like this, it just sounds like paradise. One last time for that website, it's umsl.edu/mercantile. And I want to thank both of you for having been here today. Julie Dunn-Morton, Curator of Fine Art at the Mercantile Library.
Thank you, Kathy.
And also Nick Fry, Curator of the Barriger Railroad Library.
Thanks so much.
Mercantile. Thank you, thank you, thank you.